Amalfi by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Yearsley. Sweet the memory is to me of a land beyond the sea, where the waves and mountains meet, where, amid her mulberry trees, sits Amalfi in the heat, bathing ever her white feet in the tideless summer seas. In the middle of the town, from its fountains in the hills, tumbling through the narrow gorge, the Canetto rushes down, turns the great wheels of the mills, lifts the hammers of the forge. 'Tis a stairway, not a street, that ascends the deep ravine where the torrent leaps between rocky walls that almost meet. Toiling up from stair to stair, peasant girls their burdens bear, sunburnt daughters of the soil, stately figures tall and straight. What inexorable fate dooms them to this life of toil? Lord of vineyards and of lands, far above the convent stands. On its terraced walk aloof leans a monk with folded hands, placid, satisfied, serene, looking down upon the scene over wall and red-tiled roof, wondering unto what good end all this toil and traffic tend, and why all men cannot be free from care and free from pain and the sordid love of gain, and as indolent as he. Where are now the freighted barks from the marts of east and west? Where the knights in iron sarks journeying to the Holy Land, glove of steel upon the hand, cross of crimson on the breast? Where the pomp of camp and court? Where the pilgrims with their prayers? Where the merchants with their wares and their gallant brigantines, sailing safely into port, chased by corsair Algerines? Vanished like a fleet of cloud, like a passing trumpet blast, are those splendours of the past, and the commerce and the crowd. Fathoms deep beneath the seas lie the ancient wharves and quays, swallowed by the engulfing waves, silent streets and vacant halls, ruined roofs and towers and walls. Hidden from all mortal eyes, deep the sunken city lies. Even cities have their graves. This is an enchanted land. Round the headlands far away sweeps the blue Salernian bay with its sickle of white sand. Further still and furthermost on the dim discovered coast, Paestum with its ruins lies, and its roses, all in bloom, seem to tinge the fatal skies of that lonely land of doom. On his terrace high in air, nothing doth the good monk care for such worldly themes as these. From the garden just below little puffs of perfume blow, and a sound is in his ears of the murmur of the bees in the shining chestnut trees. Nothing else he heeds or hears. All the landscape seems to swoon in the happy afternoon. Slowly o'er his senses creep the encroaching waves of sleep, and he sinks as sank the town, unresisting, fathoms down, into caverns cool and deep. Walled about with drifts of snow, hearing the fierce north wind blow, seeing all the landscape white and the river cased in ice, comes this memory of delight, comes this vision unto me of a long lost paradise in the land beyond the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bridge by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Ed Good. I stood on the bridge at midnight as the clocks were striking the hour, and the moon rose o'er the city behind the dark church tower. I saw her bright reflection in the waters under me, like a golden goblet falling and sinking into the sea. And far in the hazy distance of that lovely night in June, The blaze of the flaming furnace gleamed redder than the moon. Among the long black rafters the wavering shadows lay, and the current that came from the ocean seemed to lift and bear them away, as sweeping and eddying through them rose the belated tide, and streaming into the moonlight the seaweed floated wide. And like those waters rushing among the wooden piers, a flood of thoughts came o'er me that filled my eyes with tears. How often, oh how often, in the days that had gone by, I had stood on that bridge at midnight and gazed on that wave and sky. How often, oh how often, I had wished that ebbing tide would bear me away on its bosom o'er the ocean wild and wide. For my heart was hot and restless, and my life was full of care, and the burden laid upon me seemed greater than I could bear. But now it has fallen from me and is buried in the sea, and only the sorrow of others throw its shadow over me. Yet whenever I cross the river on its bridge with wooden piers, like the odor of brine from the ocean comes the thought of other years, and I think how many thousands of care-encumbered men, each bearing his burden of sorrow, have crossed the bridge since then. I see the long procession still passing to and fro, the young heart hot and restless, and the old subdued and slow. And forever, as long as the river flows, as long as the heart has passions, as long as life has woes, the moon and its broken reflection and its shadow shall appear as the symbol of love in heaven, and its wavering image here. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Changed by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by David Barnes. From the outskirts of the town, where the old milestone stood, now a stranger, looking down, I behold the shadowy crown of the dark and haunted wood. Is it changed, or am I changed? Ah, the oaks are fresh and green, but the friends with whom I range through their thickets are estranged by the years that intervene. Bright as ever flows the sea, bright as ever shines the sun, but alas, they seem to me not the sun that used to be, not the tides that used to run. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Day is Done by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Joanne M. Smallhair. February 21st, 2007. The day is done. The day is done, and the darkness falls from the wings of night, as a feather is wafted downward from an eagle in his flight. I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me that my soul cannot resist. A feeling of sadness and longing that is not akin to pain, and resembles sorrow only as the mist resembles the rain. Come, read to me some poem, some simple and heartfelt lay, that shall soothe this restless feeling, and banish the thoughts of day. Not from the grand old masters, not from the bards sublime, whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time. For, like strains of martial music, their mighty thoughts suggest life's endless toil and endeavor, and tonight I long for rest. Read from some humbler poet, whose songs gushed from his heart, as showers from the clouds of summer, or tears from the eyelids start. Who, through long days of labor, and nights devoid of ease, still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. Such songs have power to quiet the restless pulse of care, and come like the benediction that follows after prayer. Then read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice, and lend to the rhyme of the poet the beauty of thy voice. And the night shall be filled with music, and the cares that infest the day shall fold their tents like the Arabs, and as silently steal away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Divina Commedia by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Davis Drake. Oft have I seen at some cathedral door a laborer, pausing in the dust and heat, lay down his burden, and with reverent feet enter, and cross himself, and on the floor kneel to repeat his paternoster o'er. Far off the noises of the world retreat. The loud vociferations of the street become an indistinguishable roar. So, as I enter here from day to day, and leave my burden at this minster gate, kneeling in prayer, and not ashamed to pray, the tumult of the time, disconsolate to articulate murmurs, dies away, while the eternal ages watch and wait. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Endymion by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Kristen Hughes. The rising moon has hid the stars. Her level rays like golden bars lie on the landscape green, with shadows brown between, and silver white the river gleams, as if Diana in her dreams had dropped her silver bow upon the meadows low. On such a tranquil night as this, she woke Endymion with a kiss, when sleeping in the grove he dreamed not of her love. Like Diana's kiss unmasked, unsought, love gives itself, but is not bought. Nor voice nor sound betrays its deep impassioned gaze. It comes, the beautiful, the free, the crown of all humanity, in silence and alone, to seek the elected one. It lifts the boughs whose shadows deep are life's oblivion, the soul's sleep, and kisses the closed eyes of him who slumbering lies. O weary hearts, O slumbering eyes, O drooping souls, whose destinies are fraught with fear and pain, ye shall be loved again. No one is so accursed by fate, no one so utterly desolate, but some heart, though unknown, responds unto his own. Responds, as if with unseen wings an angel touched its quivering strings, and whispers in its song, "Where hast thou stayed so long?" End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Evangeline, A Tale of Arcady by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Davis Drake. The Intro. This is the forest primeval. The murmuring pines and the hemlocks, bearded with moss and in garments green, indistinct in the twilight, stand like druids of eld, with voices sad and prophetic, stand like harpers hoar, with beards that rest on their bosoms. Loud from its rocky caverns the deep-voiced neighboring ocean speaks, and in accents disconsolate answers the wail of the forest. This is the forest primeval, but where are the hearts that beneath it leaped like the roe, when he hears in the woodland the voice of huntsmen? Where is the thatch-roofed village, the home of the Acadian farmers, men whose lives glided on like rivers that water the woodlands, darkened by the shadows of earth, but reflecting an image of heaven? Waste are those pleasant farms, and the farmers forever departed, scattered like dust and leaves, when the mighty blasts of October seize them, and whirl them aloft, and sprinkle them far over the ocean, naught but tradition remains of the beautiful village of Grand Pré. Ye who believe in affection that hopes and endures and is patient, ye who believe in the beauty and strength of woman's devotion, list to the mournful tradition still sung by the pines of the forest, list to a tale of love and Arcady, home of the happy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Footsteps of Angels by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Ed Good. When the hours of day are numbered, and the voices of the night wake the better soul that slumbered to a holy calm delight, ere the evening lamps are lighted, and like phantoms grim and tall, shadows from the fitful firelight dance upon the parlor wall, then the forms of the departed enter at the open door, the beloved, the true-hearted, come to visit me once more. He, the young and strong, who cherished noble longings for the strife, by the roadside fell and perished, weary with the march of life. They, the holy ones and weakly, who for the cross of suffering bore, folded their pale hands so meekly, spake with us on earth no more. And with them the being beauteous, whom unto my youth was given, more than all things else to love me, and is now a saint in heaven. With the slow and noiseless footsteps comes that messenger divine, takes the vacant chair beside me, lays her gentle hand in mine. And she sits and gazes at me with those deep and tender eyes, like the stars so still and saint-like, looking downward from the skies. Uttered not yet comprehended is the Spirit's voiceless prayer, soft rebukes and blessings ended, breathing from her lips of air. Oh, though oft depressed and lonely, all my fears are laid aside, if I but remember only such as these have lived and died. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Grave, from the Anglo-Saxon by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, recorded for LibriVox.org by Peter Yearsley. For thee was a house built ere thou wast born, for thee was a mould meant ere thou of mother camest, but it is not made ready, nor its depth measured, nor is it seen how long it shall be. Now I bring thee where thou shalt be, now I shall measure thee, and the mould afterwards. Thy house is not highly timbered, it is unhigh and low. When thou art therein, the heel-ways are low, the side-ways unhigh. The roof is built thy breast full nigh, so thou shalt in mould dwell full cold, dimly and dark. Doorless is that house, and dark it is within. There thou art fast detained, and death hath the key. Loathsome is that earth-house, and grim within to dwell. There thou shalt dwell, and worms shall divide thee. Thus thou art laid, and leavest thy friends. Thou hast no friend who will come to thee, who will ever see how that house pleaseth thee, who will ever open the door for thee, and descend after thee, for soon thou art loathsome and hateful to see. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Haunted Chamber by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Kristen Hughes. Each heart has its haunted chamber, where the silent moonlight falls. On the floor are mysterious footsteps, there are whispers along the walls. And mine at times is haunted by phantoms of the past, as motionless as shadows by the silent moonlight cast. A form sits by the window that is not seen by day, for as soon as the dawn approaches it vanishes away. It sits there in the moonlight, itself as pale and still, and points with its airy finger across the window-sill. Without, before the window, there stands a gloomy pine, whose boughs wave upward and downward as wave these thoughts of mine. And underneath its branches is the grave of a little child, who died upon life's threshold, and never wept nor smiled. What are ye, O pallid phantoms, that haunt my troubled brain, that vanish when day approaches, and at night return again? What are ye, O pallid phantoms, but the statues without breath, that stand on the bridge overarching the silent river of death? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Jewish Cemetery at Newport by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by M.L. Cohen, February 2007, Cleveland, Ohio. The Jewish Cemetery at Newport. How strange it seems, these Hebrews in their graves, close by the street of this fair seaport town, silent beside the never silent waves, at rest in all this moving up and down. The trees are white with dust, that o'er their sleep wave their broad curtains in the south wind's breath, while underneath these leafy tents they keep the long mysterious exodus of death. And these sepulchral stones, so old and brown, that pave with level flags their burial place, seem like the tablets of the law thrown down and broken by Moses at the mountain's base. The very names recorded here are strange, of foreign accent and of different climes. Alvarez and Riviera interchange with Abraham and Jacob of old times. Blessed be God, for he created death, the mourner said, and death is rest and peace. Then added, in the certainty of faith, and giveth life that never more shall cease. Closed are the portals of their synagogue. No psalms of David now the silence break. No rabbi reads the ancient Decalogue, in the grand dialect the prophets spake. Gone are the living, but the dead remain, and not neglected, for a hand unseen, scattering its bounty like a summer rain, still keeps their graves in their remembrances green. How came they here? What burst of Christian hate, what persecution, merciless and blind, drove o'er the sea, that desert desolate, these Ishmaels and Hagars of mankind? They lived in narrow streets and lanes obscure, Ghetto and Judenstrasse, in murk and mire, taught in the school of patience to endure the life of anguish and the death of fire. All their lives long, with the unleavened bread and bitter herbs of exile and its fears, the wasting famine of the heart they fed, and slaked its thirst with marah of their tears. Anathema Maratha was the cry that rang from town to town, from street to street, and every gate the accursed Mordecai was mocked and jeered and spurned by Christian feet. Pride and humiliation, hand in hand, walk with them through the world where they went. Trampled and beaten were they as the sand, and yet unshaken as the continent. For in the background figures vague and vast of patriarchs and of prophets rose sublime, and all the great traditions of the past they saw reflected in the coming time. And thus forever with reverted look the mystic volume of the world they read, spelling it backwards like a Hebrew book, till life became a legend of the dead. But ah, what once has been shall be no more. The groaning earth in travail and in pain brings forth its races, but does not restore, and the dead nations never rise again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.